Hello, my name is Yasser Abdullah. I'm a member in Netcool Impact Development Team. My recording will walk you through the steps on how to create a topology widget in the dashboard with the data driven by impact policy. The outcome of the example will be something like what we see right now, a hierarchy of all the machines in some sites and some lab. So before we start, uh, the example assumes there are some knowledge about impact, such as creating data source, creating policy, array of impact object, direct SQL, and input parameter. So first, let's look at the data and how we lay it out. So first, this is the data. I have two tables in DB2 database. I have lab info and machine info. Lab info has the information about each site, such as Piscataway, Iceland, and Paramus. And machine info has information about the machines and their status, if they are up or down or under maintenance or running. And basically we have ID, name, site, ID, status, and severity. Status and severity, pretty much I'm using two different ways to introduce the status to the policy, either using the words or numeric field. So I'm just going to show you both. And the site ID is basically the relationship between every record in the table that associated site ID, which is belong to the lab info ID. So for example, I have Piscataway with site ID 1 belongs to the lab info ID 1, which means it's a child or belongs to Piscataway, and so on for the rest of the data. This data and the file will be available with the recording when you download it. And also we have a policy, demo topology, machine info. I created the policy before we started, and we will go through the steps and how what every line does. So let's go to impact here. Once you log into impact, you navigate to the system configuration, event automation, and the first thing we need to do is creating the data source. So you go to data model and you create a data source using create new data source, and you can create any SQL data source that you use the data for. But for my example, I use DB2. I already created my data source, which is this one. You just fill in the blank, make sure you can connect, and that's it. That's all we need for the data source. And then next we need to create the policy. And again, you navigate system configuration, event automation, and then click on policies. And you create a new policy using create new policy. And for the example, we are using IPL policy. So the policy the example will only work for IPL because we did not convert it to JavaScript. So just create a new policy using IPL policy. And this is the policy we have. You can just copy and paste into the configuration, and that's it. That's all what you need to do. Now let's look at the policy. We have three different direct SQL calls. One to select all the machines from the machine info and store it in the machine info object. And then max severity for root. Select the maximum severity from the machine info. This is to populate the data all the way up to the root of the hierarchy. And sites info to get all the information, the name and ID about the sites from the lab info. And we will blend all these data into one array of impact object called the demo all machines, and this is how to initialize it. Now I have this array ready to put in any object, any impact object inside it. First, we will start with the top root and the top element, which is the root. I create a new object, and let's look at the fields that requires to create the relationship in the backend. First, we have the UI3 node type. These are case sensitive and must be the same exact word. So UI3 node type tells the relationship I'm starting to create a hierarchy, and it can be tree or graph, both are the same. Next, UI3 node ID. This is to identify every object as being a parent. And here I'm using the index of each element in the array. So I'm starting with 0. This is just for me to be able to map each object with an index, so it's easier for debugging. And we have UI tree node label. This is the name that you will see on every element. So we have New Jersey Labs. Again, this is just a hard-coded value, so I can tell what I'm looking at. So this way I'm looking at New Jersey Labs. And the status, the UI tree node status. Here I'm using the severity, which is the numeric value. And this is will get the maximum severity from the machine info. So the data, the status will be whatever maximum severity that I have in the table. And I'm adding an additional field called name. This is to create a schema, as we will discuss later. And so I have additional field called name, which I call it New Jersey Labs. And once this is done, I'm just appending the element or the object to the array of impact object like that. So this is just append the first one. The first one is empty. So now this is the first one, the first element in the array. Next, we will loop through all the sites info. This is the second level of the hierarchy, all the sites. So we're looping through the sites info. You can add as many as you want, but in our case, we have only 3. And again, we're creating a new object and assigning a UI tree node ID, because I know this will be parent for the machines. And the site ID here is the ID from the table. And the parent, the UI tree node parent, is 0, because I know every site will be a parent of my dummy root, which is the New Jersey Labs. So the parent is 0. So I tell the relationship every node with parent 0, assign it as a child to the root. So that's how it's being done. And I'm doing the label, and I'm just using the name from the table, the field name. And the status, I'm getting the maximum status from machine info for this specific site ID. So for every, so I'm going to have added a where clause where the site info, the site ID equals the ID from the lab info. So this will populate the maximum severity or maximum status for every site. And so once we assign the status, we append again we append the object to the array of impact object. So this is done for the second level. Then the third level we have is the machine. The machines are the leaves. So again, we're looping through the machine info that we did the direct SQL on, and we have an object. And here I'm not using UI tree node ID because these are the leaves, and I'm not using any children for them. So I'm not assigning any UI tree node ID. And then I have UI tree node parent. Again, this will be the site ID to group all group of machines into the same site ID as being children. And the label, I'm just combining both the name and the status from the table. So that when you hover, you will see the name and what the status is. And the status, I'm using the words in this time. So I'm using the status field from the table, but I'm translating the words to the actual meaning, to the actual status that the relationship understands. So I have running is normal, down critical, patching warning, under maintenance measure, virus detected minor. So you can use these words, or you can use a numeric value. So normal is 0, critical is 5, warning is 2, major is 4, minor 3. Then assign the status, and again I'm adding the extra field with using the name from the table. And finally adding and appending every object to the demo all machines array of impact object. And finally I'm logging the demo all machines just to see if the data and the relationship is already being created. I can just manually view it. And once we're done, let's just run the policy, make sure everything is fine and no errors. So let's run the policy. Okay, no errors, so everything is good, so we're good to go. So I click OK. Now we have the policy ready, but the policy will not be available to the data provider unless we create something called an output parameter It's a new functionality, a new concept similar to the input parameter. It was created and introduced in Impact 611. It basically tells the provider, I have this policy with this output parameter, which will be demo on machines, and you can use it in the dash and do whatever you want to do with it. So now to create the output parameter, you go to create configure user parameters, same way as doing input parameter. Click on it and it'll pop up the window. The second panel configuration, you have new output parameter. Just click on new, and here you use the name you want to use. In my example, I'm using demo all machines. I'm using the same exact name as the policy, so I don't get confused. So I know what I'm looking at in the dashboard. And the policy variable is the same policy as the array of impact object that we used. So demo all machines. And the format, again, this is the array of impact object. So this is the last one. Here we have the schema definition, and this is where I will use the name, the extra field that I used to view in the properties. So click on that and create new. Click on new, and the value is name, and it's just a string. Click OK. Click OK again, and this is how it creates it. Now we have available. Now I'm not gonna click OK because I already created it, as you can see in the back. I'm just gonna cancel it. I created it already, and the reason because it takes 5 minutes, maximum 5 minutes, for the variable to be available in the dashboard. So I don't want to wait 5 minutes for the sake of the demo, so I just created it before. So once you click OK, 5 minutes passes, and then you will have it available. So let's just assume that 5 minutes happened and passed, and then we have this ready on the dashboard. So that's it. So we have the policy, we have the output parameter. Now let's go to the dashboard. The dashboard, before you create the dashboard, and before you create the page, you have to create a connection between impact and the dashboard, and you could do that through the console settings, connections, and in the connections, what you actually do, you say, okay, you tell the dashboard, I'm creating a connection between you and impact, and everything that is available in impact as an output parameter, only the policies with output parameter will be available to the dashboard, so you can use it and create widgets and pages as many as you want. Just give it a minute to come. So here we go. Now once you have this page, you create on new, and here you can you input the name, host name or IP address of the machine for impact machine. So this is my machine, and default port is 16310. You can use HTTPS, which is the port is 16311. And then you provide username and password. When you click on search, it will give you the list of data provider in that machine, and the impact machine. So I'm concerned only with this one, which is impact cluster. You can customize it as you want, like you call it impact or whatever name that make more meaningful. And once you click OK, it will be created, but I already have it, so I'm not going to click OK. So now here I created it with my name, and I have the status working, so everything looks fine. So now we're ready to do the page. Now again, same thing we do. You go to console settings, pages, and in the pages you click on create new page, and you enter the name that you want. So for example, I'll call it demo all machine info topology view, and you click OK. And here let's just save it. Here we have in this step, this is where we will choose the type of widget that we want. And by the way, we can also create a page by going to the shortcut on the top right side and click on the plus sign to create a new page. So you can do it either or. So now let's look for, we need to choose the topology widget. So we click on all, scroll a little bit to the right, and choose topology, drag and drop it. So it has a pre-data there, but we don't want to use this pre-data. What we want to edit it. So we click on the small drop down, the edit options, and then edit, pop up a configuration. And here you can choose, I can choose all and choose from the one that you want, but I already know the name is demo all machines. So I'll search it. And here we go. This is the one we have, and it tells you it is for impact policy, and the policy name is demo topology machine info. And what you just click on it, and here we have this configuration. We have its execute policy. It's a checkbox. We have to check it because that's what this means. It tells the back end I want to execute the policy every time I access the page. So this is good if you want to get a refresh and fresh copy from the policy every time you access the page. If you don't do that, it will get the policy from give the policy information from the policy cache. But for our sake, our example, we're just using we use that, so we check the box. And here we have the title. I'm just gonna lab info and status, for example, and click OK. Once we click OK, it will go to the back end, execute the policy, get the data, and render the image. So let's click OK. And here we go. Let me just maximize that a little bit. And some more from here. Now let's do save and exit so we can see more view. Here we go. So by default we have the tree as the view, and you can see these all the fields, all the elements that we have in the database. Now let's change the view a little bit, so make it hierarchy, just to see the same as we saw in the first of the recording. So now here we have again, as you can see, New Jersey Lab, New Jersey Labs. That was the root element that we created, and it's the very top, and you can see it's populated all the way to the top. So I can see New Jersey Labs is down because Iceland is down because Iceland 1 is down. So I populate the data all the way up to the root. And here on the left side we have Piscataway, everything is fine, there is no problem. And I can see Paramus, it is measured because there is some problem with this one, which is the Paramus under maintenance. You can hover on the elements, so you can see the value, the label, and so on for the rest. Or you can also right click and do properties that will show you, for example, the name field that we have created in the policy, and these all the objects and the fields that we created to make the relationships. And you can change the view. You can do something like force directed, so something like that. So you can see this is the root, and everything is coming along. Or you can do some short link, for example. This is how it looks. Again, same thing is still available, same information. We can do long link, and we also can do tree. This is the default value, as we default view as we saw at the beginning. And again, back to the hierarchy, it's just more obvious, and you can see things are going like that. And you can add as many level as you want to the hierarchy. We don't have any limit so far. As long as you do the relationship from the top to the bottom correctly, and you make sure that you lay out the parents and the children in order, because it goes from top to the bottom. Once you do that correctly, make sure everything is fine, and then you can add as many as you want, and as you can add as many nodes and as many levels as you want. So this is conclude my example. I hope you found it useful. If you have any concern or any information, if you need more information about creating policies or impact or data provider, you can check the documentation. It has some more examples and more in-depth data about the data provider and impact. And that's it for the example. And again, hopefully it was useful. Thank you for listening. Bye.